How to do long, slow runs. You might be sat there thinking, well, that's obvious, just run far, slowly. Well, yes, but it takes a lot of discipline to do this correctly, and also how slow is slow enough? Well, in this video, we're gonna have a look, and you might start to think about your long runs slightly differently. So naturally, when we run further, we run slightly slower. That happens all the time because we go out and we have this idea of pacing ourselves so we can achieve the entire distance. However, sometimes when we pace ourselves, we don't get it quite right, because what you'll find is that you'll go out for a run, you go out running what you think is fine, and towards the end of the run, you're still finding those last couple of miles really difficult and sort of wishing it was over already. If you feel like that, you're probably going out a little bit too hard, even if you think you're starting slow. So it's definitely slower than you think. Now, if we take me as an example, I can run 20 miles and hold 7 minute per mile pace. That's okay. So if I slow down to 7:30 per mile for my long run, is that fine? Well, it's probably not slow enough. And also, how do hills affect it? What about the wind? What if it's raining? What if it's really hot? All these things are going to slightly change, and you need to focus on them for your long, slow run. This is why, instead of using pace, I like to go based on how it feels. Your slow run should definitely be below a 7 out of 10 in effort. Really, you're probably aiming for closer to 5 out of 10 in effort. This means that you should be able to carry on forever. Now, the way I like to use to get here is by asking myself constant questions when I'm running. And that question is, if all the conditions stay the same as they are, could I keep running forever? Now, conditions are really important because these conditions include whether you're running uphill or downhill, whether you're running into the wind or with the wind or there is no wind, whether it's cold, whether it's really hot, whether it's raining, all these things, how much water you're taking on, how much food you're consuming, all of these things are really important. And if in that moment you're thinking, if this stayed like this for the next 5 miles, there's no way I could keep this pace, then you're running too fast. So the key is to ask yourself this question every time the conditions change. If you suddenly start running uphill and you think, if this uphill persisted, would I be able to keep this pace? If the answer's no, slow down. If you turn into a headwind and you think, if this headwind persists, could I keep this pace? If the answer is no, slow down. If the sun comes out and you get extremely warm and you think, if it gets even warmer, could I keep this pace? If the answer is no, slow down. All of these things are gonna keep telling you to slow down, slow down, slow down. And that means that you'll get yourself into a pace that's easy and you can just keep going no matter what. This is how slow we want to be, because this means that we won't be taxing our body too much. It means that we're in a position where we think, actually, yeah, this is okay. This is not straining me too much. And that means that you'll get maximum benefit from your long run. Ask yourself this question as much as you possibly can. And the other thing to remember, that if the answer is yes, then that's okay. You can keep going at that pace. And the good thing is that as you start to do this, when you ask yourself this question, if the answer is no, slow down until the answer is yes. Once it's there, you can have a look at your watch and see what that pace is, and you can remember future runs that, when I'm going uphill, this is the pace that felt okay and I felt like I could go forever. And you can bank that knowledge and you can keep using it for your slow runs over time, and you'll build up this practice of knowing what pace you should be going out at. So it can be difficult to do that because you always want to get your run done. But one way of knowing that you're probably running too fast is to try this. Go out and do a really hard interval or tempo session. Make sure at the end of it you have a 1 mile cool down immediately after your last interval or right at the end of your tempo run. And make sure that mile is flat. Look at what pace you run. It's gonna be much slower than you want it to be because you're gonna be knackered. And that's the idea, is you wanna get to the point where you're really knackered. And what this mile cooldown is showing you is that that's a pace that your body wants you to sit at to try and recover. And that pace is really useful for your long run. Now, because this is on the flat, this means on your long run, that's the pace you should aim for on the flat. When you go uphill, you need to start asking yourself questions again and start slowing it down. If you're going downhill, maybe you can speed it up a little bit, or if you've got a tailwind, again, maybe you can speed it up a little bit, but not as much as you'd want to. As you can see, it's all about discipline, and often at the start of the run, what feels okay is probably not. So that's why it's worth having this check with your mile cooldown to make sure that you don't go out too fast. Always go a little bit easier than you think you should, and that will leave you in good stead for your long runs. So if you need a little bit of convincing as to why you should be doing long, slow runs, then click on this video up here, and if you want to know when and how far you should be running on these sessions, click on this video down here. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when I upload. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.